So we're seeing massive problems in Nissan right now, so much so that there are quotes going around the internet saying that they might not last another 12 to 14 months. We've seen layoffs come out of Nissan. We've seen production cuts. Big time problems coming out of Nissan right now. All right, Ray, a brand that we've been talking about a lot that's having a lot of problems is Nissan. And Nissan, what they've come out and said to their dealer body is, okay, we need you to have patience and understanding with us. Oh my goodness. Is this all right? If you go back to whenever you were a franchise manager, if you get this memo from your brand that you're representing that you're having a really hard time moving their product because maybe they've made some bad decisions, maybe the product that they're putting out is not the greatest, maybe because price points aren't where they need to be, and they say, you know what, we just need you to be patient and be understanding with us, just from the bottom of your hearts. I mean, we're sending you this love note, and we just want you to understand where we're coming from. How does that make you feel as a dealer?
Really? That's the best you can come up with? Come on, we need some real help here. Okay. And yeah, patience and understanding can be part of the help, but could you attach a few dollars to that memo? Could you give us a reason to get excited about what the future may hold? Can you tell us that incentives are going to give us a little something to hang our hat on, other than, well, we promise we're going to get this thing moving in the right direction. It's just going to take a little bit of time, so we need you to be patient, and just hang in there with us. Well, meanwhile, during that period of time where you're patient, you could end up going out of business. So, yeah, those type of things are not necessarily received well, but the sad reality is, if you are Nissan and you've been struggling for the last couple years like they've been struggling,
a car company as big as Nissan, that's hard to wrap your head around.
And where they've come out and they've said we're in emergency mode, where rumors are that they've got 12 to 14 months of financial runway before they're, like, I don't know, really screwed. If you're one of those dealers, this is, patience is not one of the things you have. I'll share something with you. That I was having a conversation with somebody that I worked with for years and years and years, and he was a Nissan dealer, and he said to me, he said, I'm delighted I sold my Nissan dealerships because I saw 7 years ago that Nissan's business model was not sustainable, that they were fraudulently reporting increasing their sales results. In other words, they were basically encouraging dealers to say that they sold vehicles that they didn't sell. And my response was, it is hard to watch the decline of a brand that meant so much to me in my career, because my first real gig in the car business of any length was at a Nissan dealership for 12 years. They always seem to have issues, but it has grown exponentially worse over the years. And it's sad to watch what was once an esteemed brand just become a shell of itself. And so if I were a Nissan dealer today, and I had been one for a while, I'm out of patience. Okay, they're not making money. There's very few of them that are making money. They brought back some programs that caused issues to begin with. And I'll use the terminology stair-step program, and a lot of people won't know what that means. But a stair-step program from a manufacturer to a dealer is that a dealer is given a sales objective. And if you hit from 90 to 99% of that objective, you earn X amount per car. That's the first stair in the stair step. If you hit 100% to say 109%, well, then we'll raise that by Y. And that's the second stair. And then the third stair might be, if you hit 110 to 119%, then we'll raise it even more. There's your third stair in the stair step. And there could be a fourth stair that says, if you hit 120% or more, there's even a bigger payout for you. That's a stair step program from a manufacturer to a dealer. And what that does is it encourages dealers to oftentimes fraudulently um, report cars as being sold that haven't been sold in order to earn the money. And I can tell you from having seen manufacturers audit dealers for these type of programs that oftentimes when the manufacturer discovers that there were some sales reported that weren't really sales, what they do is they will ask the dealer to pay back X amount of dollars. Well, the dealer looks at it as, well, yeah, it was a $200,000 loan with zero interest. I'm okay with that. Okay, so Nissan gave us $200,000 that we worked with for 5 years, and we didn't have to pay any interest on that. Now I got to pay it back. I'll take a 0% loan all the time, and so oftentimes that's what happened. And so stair step programs encourage dealers to do things that perhaps they shouldn't do. And stair step programs often cheapen the brands because it encourages dealers to discount them at a higher level than they would have ever considered, which, well, destroys resale values. So for anybody that has one to trade in, they take it in the shorts when they go to trade it in. So, yeah, if I was a Nissan dealer and one of the uppity ups in the company said, well, we need you to be patient. Yeah, I would tell you can take your patience and you can shove it where the sun don't shine.
So I got a question for you, going through like a stair step program in a dealership. So if you get to, okay, you're coming close to the end of the month, you're maybe 2 or 3 days away from it. And we know a lot of these dealerships historically have made money through these programs like these stair step programs where you get a lot of money from the manufacturer if you hit 100% of your sales goal. So let's say you're maybe 5 vehicles away from your sales goal.
Yes.
And we'll use in Nissan's case, I know they're doing this with their Rogues. So say you're 5 Rogues away.
Yeah.
So that really incentivizes this dealership to move 5 Rogues to your service loaner fleet, right? To show this sale. And why would they not do that though? Because it could be a massive amount of money for these dealerships not to do something like that. It doesn't look good any way you put it out on paper, but it's getting them paid. In some cases, it could be $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 check for that month.
Oh, sure. So let's say you're 5 short and there's 2 days to go. So the next 5 Rogue customers that come in, you might offer them the type of deal that you didn't offer any Rogue customers during the course of the month in order to hit your objective. And then suddenly it's the last day and you hit 4 of the 5 sales that you need. And there is no 5th sale because there's no more customers left in the store. So do you sell it do you put it in the service loaner fleet if they allow you to do that? If they don't allow you to do that, do you sell it to your own leasing company in order to show it as a sale? Or do you just report it as sold? And it's not really sold. And then you sell it eventually to somebody. Meanwhile, the warranty clock started ticking 30, 60, 90 days ago when you reported it sold to the manufacturer. It's just, it's not the best way to do business, but it is a way that encourages dealers to get creative. and dealerships, as you have heard me say, employ some of the most creative people on the face of the earth. Some would suggest they could be fraudulent ways of doing things, but they're creative. They're very creative people, and they come up with a way to take advantage of whatever the situation might be that has presented itself. I'm not saying that I encourage this. One of the beautiful things about working for a publicly traded company when I worked for the Penske organization. Couldn't do it if you wanted to. Okay, because that's stock fraud. When you start reporting sales that aren't sales, well, that's fraud to your stockholders. So, one of the wonderful things about working for these publicly traded companies is either you hit your objective or you don't hit your objective, but you ain't just saying you did and reporting cars sold that aren't. So it's an ugly way to do business. The manufacturer needs to find a better way.
Yeah, I can imagine the call from the DMV to Mrs. BMW dealership saying, "Well, ma'am, you've really owned a lot of BMWs this year. We would recommend you get your dealer's license."
Yeah.
All right. So all of you watching it here, I know most of you are not subscribed, so I need you to hit that subscribe button. Whatever we need to do to get you to hit that subscribe button, Ray will do it. So just hit it for us and let us know what he needs to do down in the comments to get you to subscribe.
I've told this story before, but when I was in Arizona and I was running an Acura store, and one of my area vice president said something to me, and I said, "John, I'm pretty sure I outsold them. I just don't think I out RDR'd them." In other words, an RDR stands for a retail delivery report. And oftentimes I'd end up doing a dealer trade with them for a car that I needed. I'd get the car in. I'd go to report it as a sale. And lo and behold, they had already reported as a sale 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago. And I couldn't get retail credit for it. And I used to call my factory rep and say, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" He goes, "Well, there's nothing I can do." But I said, "Well, that's really kind of..."
That is one big pile of
When my pay plan is based on I have to outperform my competitors. That's part of my pay plan. Okay. And the way we measure that is through retail delivery reports to the manufacturer. I'm giving you a legitimate number and they're giving you an illegitimate number, and it impacts my pay plan. And then you tell me, "Well, it's just the way it happens. There's nothing we can do about it." Penalize them. Okay. And ultimately, when they did an audit, that dealer had to stroke Acura a check for a couple $100,000. When they did the audit at our store, they couldn't find anything wrong. So it's, but I hated that. And believe me, in the Penske organization, they like to be number one. But, it's hard to be number one and just be legitimate about it when some of your competitors aren't being legitimate about it.
So I wanted to pull this up. I've seen this quite a bit when I've been looking up Nissan stuff.
Yes.
I'm not going to say that this has been verified, but I've seen this quote on tons and tons of websites.
Yes.
And it says, "Insider says Nissan has 12 to 14 months to survive." Okay. I'm not going to, we're here to report on news. I'm not going to say that that's news. I'm just reporting that I've seen this a lot. And I want to go through the scenario of, okay, let's say Nissan does only have 12 to 14 months to survive. What are these dealerships thinking? So if you're in that Acura dealership and you see this quote everywhere, even if it's not verified, whatever, but you can see it on your dealership lot that, okay, we got problems. We're not selling cars. We have to turn down allocations. What's going through the mind? I just want to go through, because we talk about ground level stuff a lot. I'm a used car dealer. You worked in the new car space through these dealerships. What's going through the minds of these, not only salespeople, but there's a lot of turnaround with salespeople, so the salespeople might not care at all. But what's going through the minds of like these sales managers, these franchise managers? What are they? Does that get them fired up to do something about it, or is it just a big time worry kind of thing?
Well, listen, you never want to see the manufacturer of the brand that you're representing be in financial difficulty, because if there are reports that, for instance, Nissan might only have 12 to 14 months of runway left, well, that doesn't encourage customers to say, "Okay, I'm going to go shop Nissan."
Right.
Actually, it discourages customers from wanting to go shop Nissan because they might say to themselves, well, I could buy this Nissan and in 15 months, Nissan's out of business. And then what happens? Where do I take my car if I have an issue? Who's going to honor the warranty? Whatever. So that's not good news to see. Um, but when things are slow, when there's difficulty, as managers, I could never report to the people I reported to and say, well, things are slow. Yeah, they know things are slow, but the sad reality is if you're a manager in a business like that, you can't at the end of a month go, well, I could have got there, but I didn't quite get there because there was this rock in the middle of my road and it blocked me from getting to where I needed to go. The owner isn't paying you to report that there was a rock in the middle of the road. The owner is paying you to report how you got around that rock in the middle of the road. So if there are issues, if sales are slow, if the desirability of the product isn't what it had been, my response to the ownership could not have been, well, nobody wants this crap anymore. My response had to be, here's what I'm doing to create interest on a local level for that product so that we can still hit our goals. I'm doing the best that I can to do that. So I just always looked at it as, if there's a rock in the middle of the road, my job is to figure out how to get around that rock, regardless of how large a boulder it might have been. I couldn't just say, the whole damn world collapsed in a pile of rubble and the rubble's blocking me from doing what I need to do. That wouldn't have been sufficient. So you have to get creative. You have to think about, okay, what can I do that would encourage people to continue to buy the product? And you experiment and you figure it out and you figure out how to get around that rock. That's what I used to do.
Does it get to a point in that situation? I feel like that you've been through actually a much worse situation, hovering around like 2008 when just money evaporated.
Yes.
Does it become a situation where, okay, if you're a manager of a Nissan store, if a customer's walking in and if they're remotely interested, you're doing whatever you can just to make them leave with a car?
You better. You have to. I mean, you have a limited number of opportunities on any given day to sell something. And if you're in a store where traffic is off and the desirability of the product is suspect, if you have one or two or three opportunities during the course of a day that walk in, well, you better figure out how to sell two or at least one of those three, or two out of the three, or if you can, three out of the three of those people, your product. If they, for whatever, even if they wandered in just to use the restroom, you have to still look at it as an opportunity to share your excitement and enthusiasm for whatever it is that you sell with that person. I know you only needed to pee. I get it. But you know what? If you were to look this will get you to the next restroom quicker. Whatever it is, but you have to do whatever you can to bring some cash in. And that goes for any retail business. I had a Golf USA Pro Shop at one time. I learned early on, just because I unlocked the door in the morning and I was open from 10 in the morning till 8 at night, whatever it was, just because I unlocked the door didn't mean anybody was obligated to open it and walk through it. But if somebody did, then I was obligated to figure out how to have them walk out of my store having spent some money with me. And that's what you have to do. If somebody walks in, you make sure they walk out with something.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is on the dealership level, they just have to do whatever they can to get people into these cars. But here at from Nissan's level, what they're saying is in the short term, they're going to focus on three areas: reinforcing the product lineup,
Mhm.
stabilizing and right sizing the business, and driving growth. So let's go through those three things and their plan for the short term: reinforcing the product lineup. What I think that means
Yeah.
is basically leaning into the products that are working and hopefully leaning away from the products that are not working. That's what I'm reading in that sense. But do they really have anything that's working right now?
Um, well, I mean, the Rogue is still their number one selling vehicle. Doesn't mean that it sells quite at the level that they'd like it to sell at.
But if I'm not mistaken, that's what they were a few months ago, adding more money on the front end, on
Yes,
the back end,
yes,
because they have a rogue problem.
yes. So it first of all, it would help if they'd come up with a winner. Okay, and they no, seriously. I
Yeah.
mean, every brand when it takes off, it's because something caught the public's eye, and the public said, "I got to have one." Okay, well, Nissan hasn't had anything like that in how long? Um, does the Maxima even exist anymore? At one time, the Maxima was considered a pretty neat four-door sports car type of thing. And there was a certain desirability attached to that. The Z car when it first came out, not the 300Z or what, but the original 240Z and then 260 and 280. Um, you know there were some product that that got the public's juices flowing. Well, I can't think of anything that Nissan's come out with in the last 4 or 5 years that's even gotten their dealerships juices flowing. Can you think of anything?
I mean, they still have the Z's, and they look great. They're cool little cars,
Yeah, but nobody's
um,
buying them.
but nobody's buying them. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
they still have the Ultima, which I think they're going to do away with. They still have the Sentra. That doesn't inspire anybody.
And the
Um,
Sentra is low 20s. So this is what
yes,
blows me away. That's
yeah,
like that's one of, if not the most affordable vehicle on the I mean on the planet that you can buy brand new right now. Let's say planet in the
yeah,
US that you can buy brand new right now, and it's still a problem.
yeah.
I don't understand.
Uh, is the Pathfinder exciting to anybody anymore? I mean, there was a time when the Pathfinder, when it first came out, I remember when it first came out, that was that got people's juices flowing. Today, not at all. So when was the last time Nissan came out with something that was just an abject winner where everybody said, oh, I got to have one. I want one, even if I can't afford one. Where's their version of the Miata or the PT Cruiser? Something that people were willing to overpay for to
Oh,
get.
PT Cruiser in this example. I don't like that. Gross.
Well, but there was a time when the PT Cruiser first came out that everybody had to have one, and people
Yeah.
overpaid $5,000 for. 'Em. What's the last thing that Nissan made that anybody was willing to pay over on? I can't
I,
think of a winner.
I think probably the most appealing thing that Nissan offers right now is probably the Pathfinder. But I mean, the thing about it is, like MSRP 47,000, MSRP 44,000, MSRP 47,000. Here's a 2025 that's I mean $56,000.
I don't think it sells all that well.
No, I feel like it's just too expensive for what it is. I feel like you can go and
But
get
but but is it
what a
is it
Forerunner.
really? Is it doesn't it compete with a Palisade? Doesn't it compete with a Telluride? Uh, isn't it the same basic price points as those? But yet people are all over the Palisades and the Telluride, but nobody's all over the Pathfinder at the moment. So why? Why is so? yeah, they need to concentrate on the right inventory, but they don't have any inventory that anybody's excited about. So the next thing they need, that's the rock in the middle of their road. We have all these different models, and there's not one that the public is excited about. So whatever we come out with next better be exciting, better be something that the public will clamor for moving forward. How they do that, I don't know. I don't know what the hype train's going to be to make that happen, but they need something.
Okay. Well,
And
that's point number one. So we
Yeah.
talk about reinforcing the product lineup, and from Ray's wisdom, you have to have something that excites people about the product. There we go. That's number one. Number two is stabilizing and right sizing the business. That means I feel like investments, money that they're pouring into the business versus money that they're bringing out of business, and I think margins have something to do. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. I don't, what do you feel like that
I
means?
take that to mean that they want to get their inventory levels right again. Okay. That they don't want them to be out of whack. And which is why they've had to cut production for this fiscal year by 17%, because their inventory levels are out of whack, because the desirability of what it is that they're building is suspect at best. So to me, when I read that line, it reads to me that, okay, we need to get our inventory back to where it belongs per each model line, so that our dealers aren't sitting on all this excess inventory. And so we don't have to utilize 99% of our profit to underwrite the sales of these vehicles through incentives, which is what happened.
Yeah. So they need the right kind of product. They need the right amount of product.
Yes.
There we go. That's an easy way to
Yes.
drive it down. And then their last thing is driving growth. I don't think we need to focus on growth at this moment. I think we need to focus on surviving at this point.
Yes. Yeah. And if they can survive, that would only happen because the first two things happened. So
yeah. So when a business is going into this and they're releasing things like this, and people are going to research a brand like Nissan, if they're seeing that all these struggles that are going through, I mean, perception is everything. Even if Nissan puts out the best product in the world right now, if a consumer sees, okay, well, people aren't buying it, they're having to take a lot of money off of it, they might not survive for another year and a half. Maybe we should just go to Toyota.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens, and I think it's because they just haven't come up with anything recently that gets people's emotions excited about it. They need to come up with something that will excite the public. Just me, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's as simple as that.
Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, tell every living person you know that they need to subscribe to Car Sense with Brandon and Ray.